Right now, we are tracking storms as they move out of North Georgia. You're taking a live look now outside of the 11 Alive studio. This is right off of I-85. Look at that, dark clouds, the rain really sticking to the roads there. And the 11 Alive storm trackers have been on air for nearly 3 hours tracking these storms.
Yeah, our chief meteorologist, Chris Holcomb, has the very latest on that forecast for you right now. Chris?
You know, we're seeing some good indications right now that these storms are weakening a little bit as they move over to the east, but I still don't want you to let your guard down. The last severe thunderstorm warning that we had here on the north side just expired at 5:30, and they have not issued a new severe thunderstorm warning. The National Weather Service is issuing significant weather advisories now, and that's just showing us that the winds now are below what we would classify as severe storm status, but still very gusty winds. Don't let your guard down. You're going to be experiencing some very heavy rain, thunder and lightning, and gusty winds as these storms move through. It's a thin line of storms, pretty much lined up along the 85 and 985 corridor here, moving through the city of Atlanta. The worst of this is now just east of downtown, pushing into DeKalb County. And then this stretches on the south side over the airport and on down 85 here to the south and west of us. Remember last night, I was showing you the forecast track that showed the thin line of storms moving through, but I was telling you, you know, I know this doesn't look that impressive, but within this line, these storms are going to be strong. That's what we've been dealing with. We have numerous reports of damage all along this area from northwest Georgia through the metro area now, and then these storms continuing to move on over to the east of us. There's that bit of very heavy rain now already passed through the city of Atlanta, but pushing over there on the east side, moving out I-20 and parts of DeKalb County, and again, these stronger storms in South Fulton pushing through too. We have had numerous reports of damage all around. We've been talking about that in northwest Georgia, but I want to bring you in closer here to the metro area. I want to take you to Ross Cavett right now. He joins us now in Cobb County. Ross, you guys have been hearing some damage reports there too, right?
We have, although right now it's a fairly nice evening setting up near the Marietta Square. But Chris, the weird thing was the 911 center was much more active before the rain actually arrived here. We started getting reports of trees down and power lines down as the winds pushed into Cobb County. We ended up with probably 18 to 20 calls of trees down and power lines down across the county, not in one particular section of Cobb County, but spread out all over. The worst of it was a tree in a house in Marietta and a tree that hit some cars down by the Jim R. Miller Park in the central part of the county. Fortunately, no injuries reported. The latest call just came in up on Sandy Plains Road near Trickham in East Cobb, where there's a tree blocking some lanes of the roadway up there, so use caution in that area. But other than that, fortunately, nobody hurt, and the calls are dwindling.
That is good to hear. And Ross, I'm so glad you brought that up, because we were telling people all day long and even yesterday that we would have those strong winds even outside of the storms. You don't have to have the rain over you, but it's these strong winds ahead of that, where it's interesting that you mentioned those damage reports were coming into you with those strong winds even before the rain moved in.
Yeah, it was very active in the 911 center. They went to their specialized dispatch procedure when the line of storms was still way back in Bartow County, and the tornado warning first hit for that particular area. And that's when we started getting the calls that came in. And then when the line came through, we're all sitting watching and bracing for the calls, and they all kind of just died off. So it was interesting. But you're right, those winds came through before the actual front and did the most damage.
All right, Ross, thank you so much for giving us that new information out of Cobb County right now. And now, hopefully, as those storms continue to move away, we can see here what we're watching with the rain ending. We'll still be dealing with some winds here on the backside, but those storms will move away, and then we'll focus on just winds behind the storms, as well as watching people who are having to clean up some of the damage that has been left behind. I want you folks over on the east side of the city to be aware, though, that even though this line is weakening, it is still holding together with some heavy rain and also the wind in association with it. The tornado watch that was in northwest Georgia expired at 5. We have another one in effect until 8 o'clock, but I really think once that line moves through, the Storm Prediction Center and National Weather Service will start taking some of these counties away. So I don't think the watch here in the metro Atlanta area is going to last until the 8 o'clock hour that we have here. I want to also show you some of the damage that we have in northwest Georgia as these storms move through. That's where they had more of the energy with it. Bobeth Yates joins us right now. Bobeth, I know you've been in Thunder Truck this afternoon tracking these storms. Now you're focusing on that damage that's left behind up in Floyd County.
Yeah, that storm rolled in very quickly. We saw the brief spurts of rain very, very hard. And now we're at Advent Health Medical Center in off Red Mound, where some of that damage actually occurred. This parking lot, multiple trees came down, and you see crews around the area quickly moving some of those trees. One of them is right behind me. You see right up there, that tree just snapped like a toothpick, falling down in this parking lot. Just about, not even 5 minutes ago, this tree fell and kind of spanned all of this area where you see all this debris all over, coming down literally up to 6 parking spaces. Some of the tree limbs fell on cars, and multiple other trees were down inside this parking lot. Crews right now just literally moving from spot to spot, grinding up the trees and cutting them up. If you can see off in the distance, they are over there now moving through the parking lot as they're now cutting up another tree that fell. But again, Advent Health Medical Center officials say they were literally inside when standing at the window when the system started coming in. And as it rolled in, people were even in the parking lot, and they described what it was like to be so close to this system. Just take a listen to what they said, how scary it was.
It was loud and quick. I mean, immediately it was calm, and then just boom, like it hit you, and we were scrambling because one of the nurses got stuck in the door over there. So we were trying to get her out and get inside because, I mean, it was fast. Like, I'd never seen nothing like it.
We're going to go to the window. Yeah, so it was definitely scary for many of the people that say they were literally in the parking lot when that system came rolling through. And I also want to show you another thing. Look at this window right here that's blown out. Advent Health officials told me that when that system started coming through, there were even people that were watching it. And they said when that window blew out, and then once it did, they had to make that quick decision to start moving patients out the way just in case others did. They said they were thankful for their staff, for their quick thinking. No one was injured, and that window was definitely cleaned up and just got everything back up and running. Right now they're without power. In fact, the entire area is without power, and they're running on a backup generator. But they said all the patients are in good condition and no one was injured, and nurses were able to move everyone away from those windows just in case another one blew out. I'm going to send it back to you now in the studio.
All right, Bobeth, thank you. You had some of the first pictures there of the damage as we were in our storm coverage here just a little bit earlier. You can see here how the line of storms is going to keep moving over to the east. We'll see improving weather. Bobeth, you know, it's amazing, already has the sunshine there, but you notice that the wind was still blowing. So even though the storms have moved through metro Atlanta and are pushing over to the east, we're still going to be dealing with the wind for a while. Let's get to Melissa Nord right now with more on that. Melissa?
And Chris, we were watching the airport camera just blowing in those gusty winds earlier, but I just checked power outages. Cobb EMC has over 4,100 customers without power, but Georgia Power customers is now over 20,000 for all of North Georgia. Wind gusts in Atlanta peaked at 40 miles per hour. We've still got some winds that are gusting right now over 30 miles per hour just in advance of the storms. But this high wind warning and wind advisory, which are in effect, will last for the next several hours as we still see the gusty winds even after the storms clear. But once the storms clear, again, the sun comes back out pretty quickly, but it's still going to stay windy. So let me show you this forecast track for the wind gusts. The next couple of hours, still seeing those gusts above 35 miles per hour. But as we push this forward to 8 o'clock tonight, we're finally starting to see them come down by a notch or two, just to gust to 20 to 30 miles per hour. And then finally overnight, they will turn lighter. But in the meantime, Chris, there's a lot of damage, not just from the storms themselves, but trees down in general from these gusty winds. Again, about 25,000 customers without power across North Georgia right now.
All right, so we'll keep watching these storms as they move away and those winds relax, but then cooler air coming in for the weekend. We'll have more on that for you coming up in just a few minutes.